Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, you can always, I can't hide my demeanor, man. You could tell I can't look, when I'm going to talk about something serious, you could always tell I can't change it. All right, so this is fairly serious. Once again, I'm going to talk about some of my own experiences here. I came across a story this morning. And the story's about the South Carolina Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson, and some of the statements he made. And I read the story over, I read the article, a couple different articles over. The links will be down below. You could read the articles yourselves. And some of the statements he made, and right off the bat, I thought how dangerous they are, how assuming, they're stereotyping, and how it's dangerous to what he's assuming. And then I started thinking about my own life. I started thinking about a teacher that I hadn't thought about in years. And somebody else in my life that I've talked about before, a predator. When I was sexually molested for years. I've talked about this before. And going back to Lieutenant Governor, South Carolina. Okay, so like I said, the links are down below so you can see what he says. Basically, he's saying that God created men, to be big, ugly, and hairy, to scare away the bad people. He's referring to what the context here is he's talking about teachers that bring up anything to do with the LGBTQ community in schools. And he's more or less painting any teacher that dares say the word gay is the P word. I don't even want to say it here because I don't want this video to be misunderstood. He labels them as predators. The more I thought about this, the first thing that came to my mind is, has this guy ever been in any penitentiary or any jail? I doubt he's been. I've been into a lot of, they call them after hours clubs. And I'm not painting all clubs, like bike clubs or gangs, as predators. But he's basically painting like all men as big, ugly, and hairy, and that's the way God created them to be, to go out there and fight for good, to fight against these people that bring up the evil of the LGBTQ community. That's the gist of what he's saying. First thing I thought about, has he ever been in a penitentiary? Has he ever seen any of the big, hairy, ugly people in there? Are they a force for God? Are they a force for good? I highly doubt it. I started thinking about actual predators out in the world. Now, as anyone with any intelligence knows, people come in all shapes and sizes, all sexes, all everything. So to stereotype any one look, any one race, any one sex, any one age, anything, to pigeonhole one group. He's basically saying that big, ugly, hairy men are a force for good to fight these dastardly teachers that dare bring this up. And the more I started thinking about this, I thought about a teacher. I hadn't thought about this guy in years. Fifth grade English teacher. I don't want to say his name here. There were three teachers in fifth grade. There was three classes of fifth grade kids, and then in sixth grade, all the kids from all the different districts came together. But in kindergarten through fifth grade, there was different little districts, and our district had three classes. About 30 kids in a class, about 90 kids, about 80 or 90 kids in our fifth grade class. And I hadn't thought about this till this morning, and the two other teachers in the two other class, there was the science teacher, who was a woman, who had very short hair, was very brisk and gruff. And that just popped in my head about her. I don't know. I don't know what her private life was. And then there was another teacher that was the math teacher, and then there was the male English teacher. And I liked him. He was a good guy. He was very strict. He dressed immaculately. This was like 1977, and he had the nylon, the fake fabric bell-bottom pants. He was dressed basically like John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever. Exactly, perfect hair, perfect like a hair helmet. And he even back then, I think everybody realized that he had kind of an effeminate manner, a bit of an effeminate manner. Nobody ever said anything, even years after. I didn't even realize until years later when I read an article in the newspaper about him and his life partner that, I kind of put it all together. But back then, this is in 1977 now, and I think everybody kind of understood. Most of the kids kind of feared him because I remember he had a pointer and he slammed it on the desk, and everybody would jump. But he commanded respect. He was a great teacher. I still remember he taught us how to write letters. I wrote a letter to Paul Michael Glazer, Starsky and Hutch, because he wanted us to write to Hollywood to like as a fan to teach us how to write letters. And I wrote this to Starsky, Paul Michael Glazer. I never got a letter back. But anyway, here's where it gets interesting. Okay, so the girls started growing into women and getting their monthly cycles in 5th grade. And they separated about 80 kids. They separated the girls and the boys. The girls they took down to the gym, right? So the boys are just mystified here. We're I don't know, about 11 years old, I guess, 10, 11, about 11 years old, I think, in 5th grade. And, so they take all the boys into another room. And it's this English teacher. We'll call him John Travolta. Okay, and he's going to teach the boys. He basically starts teaching the boys about women's, what they're talking about, what the girls are being taught down in the gym, about their monthly cycles, about the uterus and the eggs. And I still remember him asking the boys in the class. There's about 40 or 50 boys. And I remember him saying, "You think you know everything about sex, but you don't know nothing about sex." And I still remember him saying that. And in my mind, because I had found a couple Playboys and Hustler magazines on the side of the road by then. And I thought I pretty much had a good idea of everything. There was a lot of things that I didn't understand, but I still remember him saying that. So basically, looking back this morning, I'm thinking about this, and he was a great guy. For everything, he was a great teacher, and I imagine he had a great life. I'm not even sure if he's still alive or not. That's why I'm not saying his name. But like I said, it was kind of obvious to all of us back then that he was gay. And like I said, I read about an article about him and his partner later on, and. For all intents and purposes, he was a great guy. So here was a gay man teaching all of the 11-year-olds in this town about sex. And like I said, the other two teachers both knew. I'm sure they understood. And nobody had a problem with it. And he did a great job. I turned out. I had my problems, but I turned out great, and everybody else in the class did too. So this lieutenant governor painting these teachers as being evil, but wait, this is where I started to get angry. I've talked about this in other videos, how my father passed away when I was 9, and my mom started dating. The police would do a check because we lived down in the woods. My father was the park ranger. And one of the policemen that came down there was a guy that my mom started dating eventually. He would do a check and he started chatting up my mother. My mother dated him for years. And I talked about this before, how I was groomed. He started off by giving me Playboy magazines, just us guys, just between us guys. I was probably 10 or 11, about the same age. I got some magazines for you. I remember him giving me a condom when I was like 11. I never used it, man. I still had it like when I was 14 or 15, I think, all crunched up, the foil and everything. Thank God I didn't use it. But he was grooming me. And I still remember the first time he reached over, grabbed me between my legs, and asked me, "How's the stem of your stinger, Daryl?" And it got much worse from there. Stuff you can't even imagine that this guy did to me. I talked about this in another video, and how I feared for my little sister too, and how it all ended. So here in my life, in my actual experience, I've got a pretty much what I'd say 99% sure. It was a gay teacher that taught us about the facts of life, taught me and about 50 other boys the facts of life, and he did a great job, and he was a great teacher. He did absolutely nothing inappropriate whatsoever, ever, to my knowledge. And then we have this big, hairy policeman, an upstanding law officer, who was a predator, who groomed me and molested me for a good 3 years. So Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, you're a little off here. Like I said, I've got proof on all of the stuff that I'm talking about, especially about this guy that molested me. You know, I've got the goods on him, and he's gone now. He's dead. So I don't think stereotyping is good, especially in this situation. So Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, you are so far off base. Not all big, hairy men ugly men are fighting for good. And not all gay men are bad. You can't stereotype people. Don't do it. All right, you guys, have a good Wednesday.